From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Inside Politics.
Hello, everyone. I'm News Channel 5's political analyst, Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. Nashville Mayor John Cooper has proposed a record spending plan for metro government of nearly $3 billion for the next fiscal year, which begins July 1st. It's now up to the Metro Council to decide what to do to change or approve its own plan, or the mayor's budget automatically becomes law. The council wants your input. Tuesday night, June 7th, the council will hold a public hearing to listen to your thoughts on the budget at the historic Metro Courthouse. One of the council members who will be there to listen is Metro Councilmember at large Burkley Allen. She's our guest this week on Inside Politics. Council Lady Allen, thank you for joining us and welcome to the program.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here.
Why would you urge the public to come down to the courthouse, drive downtown? And, maybe they're just a property owner in Davidson County, but why is it important? Why would it make a difference if they're there? This
is the best chance for the council to hear what people's thoughts are about our budget. We do listen to emails and we do run into people on the street, but this is an official opportunity to make a statement about that.
Do people need to register in advance if they want to talk?
They do not need to register. They just need to show up.
And how long do they get to speak?
Exactly 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Well, that's not very long. So what would you advise people to do? Pick out a point or two key points to make, because 2 minutes goes pretty quickly.
It does go fast. They need to say their name, their address, and then what they're speaking about, why it's important, and whether they recommend changing it or keeping it the same.
Now, perhaps the most important thing people want to know, this particular budget does not include any kind of property tax increase. Are there any other large fees that are being increased?
The only fee increases are the result of studies that were done to look at what it costs for our codes departments and our planning departments to process requests. So that's not the general public, but those fees have been raised and they are included in this budget, as well as a 10% IT fee that's probably going to get added on to things as well.
Almost $3 billion is an awful lot of money. Does Metro need to be spending that kind of money in its operating budget?
Well, that's our revenue projection. So we will have that money. We can either choose to spend it or add it to our fund balance.
It's a 12% increase. That's a pretty large increase. Why is it so large over this year?
I think sales tax is a big surprise. People are still spending a lot of money. Our property tax goes up every time a new building comes online. Those are the two big contributors. How
much of this is federal COVID relief funds, and is this, and with that's one-time money? Are you spending the one-time money on one-time expenses, or are you going to have in the future have to come back and take, when that one-time money's gone, find recurring money to start taking care of programs and people and employees that you have employed using those one-time funds?
Great question. We got about close to $300 million in COVID money over the course of several years. Half of it's already been spent. We're still allocating some of that on one-time things, as you mentioned. So most of those are new programs that are a result of that. The few that are really great that we want to continue, we will have to roll into the budget in the future.
You are the chairman of the council's Budget and Finance Committee. Besides this public hearing, what else are you doing to talk to the departments and hear from other people about what they need to do about the budget? What's the committee been doing?
We have been holding our department hearings, as you know, listening to key departments explain what their budgets are, what those new positions are for, and again, the public hearing that you mentioned on June 7th.
Just to be clear for people, your name's going to appear on all this budget legislation. You do that because you're chair of the committee. That doesn't mean you approve everything in the budget. That's correct.
That's year to year. It goes from budget chair. But it does give me control over the process and how those changes get incorporated.
From what you've seen and heard so far, the review of the budget, particularly what you, on the departmental level, as you've gone through that over the last couple of weeks, is this overall a good spending plan, or does it need some major changes?
I think it's a good spending plan. There's going to be some tweaks to it, but I appreciate the emphasis on housing, which people have heard about, and on education. Those are important to everyone.
I understand the mayor's budget allocates an extra $50 million to pay down the city's bonded indebtedness. Metro's been getting a lot of grief about how much that number has been growing in terms of bonded indebtedness over the last couple of years. Is adding $50 million enough? Should the council add more to pay off more of the debt?
That payoff is a function of when we issue bonds. There's a specific schedule that they're supposed to be paid off along. We are issuing another bond issue simply because interest rates are going up, and if we do it now, it'll save us $60 million over the long run, and that's just good fiscal policy.
What city agencies are receiving the largest amount of money in this budget that's going to have 12% more revenue?
This I'm going to check my notes on. It goes largely to schools. It also goes to NDOT is getting infrastructure improvements that they'll be able to provide.
That's the Department of Transportation.
NDOT is National Department of Transportation Code, so they can speed up their processing department. And then Parks, Fire, and Police are getting more personnel. One of those is for a new police precinct in Southeast Nashville that's been asked for years.
Personnel costs are usually the largest amount of anybody's budget, whether it's in government or a private organization, how many new employees does this budget fund, and in what departments?
Overall,
you mentioned fire and police.
Yeah, overall 500 new employees are proposed. Fire is 94 new, police is 68, parks is 50, National Department of Transportation is 48, and codes is 31.
The other big cost for personnel is going to be what you pay them. Inflation's pretty bad. People are looking to get more money, to be paid more money. What's the amount of pay raises we're talking about in this budget?
We are looking at a 4% COLA for all employees, both Metro and Metro schools, which is kind of a separate.
COLA being the cost of living,
Cost of living increase, that's exactly right. And then also a 3% step, which is just every year you get an increase on top of your cost of living increase. When
that's for the early years employees are in there, like the first 5 or 6 years. That's not, they don't get that step right throughout the 20 years.
Right, unless they move up a category. You kind of start back over with that.
I've heard the Metro Civil Service Commission did a study for how much the cost of living ought to be adjusted, and I think they come up with 5%, not 4%.
This is true.
Is the council looking at the difference in that and deciding whether 5% is a better number than 4?
Yeah, two answers to that. First of all, the 4% was also paired with raising up the lowest employees to be at 18% minimum wage, which is what the MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology study said is the living wage in Nashville, and we're committed to providing that. So some of that money went to the people who can't even afford to live here at all. The council is looking at ways to do that, and that'll be part of our discussion coming up in the next couple of weeks.
So where would you find the extra money if you had to go from 4% to 5%? Because when you have as many employees as Metro's got, a 1% increase is a big number.
It's about $6 million for us, and then $6 million for over $6 million for the schools. So either we take that from some place that we think doesn't need it, or we make other adjustments. But it's a balanced budget. We can't. We have to take it from somewhere.
For the second year in a row, you mentioned the schools are getting the biggest increase. The mayor is once again recommending for the second year in a row the biggest amount of new local funding, $92 million this year. Where will that extra money be spent? Mostly in employees' salaries? Mostly
employees. That's exactly right. It is $60 million goes to pay increase and paid family leave, which was also part of that pay package. $18 million goes to charter schools. $5 million for textbooks is now going to be federally funded, and $4 million is just general inflation.
Our guest today is Metro Councilman at Large Burkley Allen. She's the chair of the Council's Budget and Finance Committee. We're talking about the budget process. The Council's knee-deep in that in the month of June. About to continue our conversation after this break.